ERP is this really strange acronym. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, but it actually could mean anything.
Yeah.
Today, most vertical software that addresses a bunch of different aspects of the business and gives a source of truth for a company is usually what ends up being called an ERP. So you can have generic ERP systems, which can be applied to multiple industries and adopted by different types of businesses. An important part of an ERP is also the financial aspect being rolled into it. So without that, it usually ends up being a little bit more of a point solution than an ERP system.
This is Limited Supply, the place for refreshingly real takes on what D2C is really like.
We're your hosts, Nick and Moiz. Let's start talking about money. I'm super excited that this season's sponsor for Limited Supply is Fulfil.io. I heard about Fulfil almost 10 years ago. I invested in the business in 2016 or 2017. I put in $550,000 because I love the product and what they were building, and I love the CEO, Sharoon. He's an amazing founder, really listens to customer feedback. You can email him and get product updates anytime you want. It's really incredible. Fulfil.io is an ERP system built for e-commerce businesses. Think of them as Netsuite for e-commerce specifically. They work with huge e-commerce businesses from Hexclad to Missouri to Caraway to Cadence. It's really an incredible product. It really helps simplify your business when the complexity gets to a level of detail where Excel doesn't work for you anymore. So through Fulfil, you'll be able to manage your orders, you'll be able to manage your accounting, you'll be able to manage your inventory, understand what's low and what's high, when you need to place another PO. You'll be able to manage your bill of materials and build bundles. It's really an incredible piece of software. Once your business starts getting really complicated and you can't manage it via Excel spreadsheets, it could be complicated for so many reasons. It could be complicated because you've got a lot of channels that you're selling through, or you've got a lot of different SKUs, or you've got a lot of different manufacturers. Once it gets to the point where you can't manage it through spreadsheets anymore, that's really where Fulfil shines. Go check them out. It's fulfil.io. Sharoon, this is one of the final episodes of this season of Limited Supply, season 8. You are Sharoon Thomas. I just learned that people call you ST 2 seconds ago. And you're the CEO and founder of Fulfil.io, which is this season's sponsor. And we're actually both in London. Most of these episodes are recorded obviously in the States. You and I are both randomly in London. And so you and I are recording this in London without Nick because obviously he's not here. So welcome to the podcast. Super excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Moiz. So happy to be here.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about your business. But before we do, I did this with the Postscript guys as well. First thing I want to talk about is I'm an investor in Fulfil. I think my family invested back in 2017 or 2018. I remember the first time we met you was before Native had sold, actually. You came to TinyCo's offices, and my brother and I sat with you. And I listened to what you guys were going to do with Fulfil. And at the end of it, I was like, I have no idea what these guys are doing. And my brother's like, I think I also have no idea what these guys are doing. And yet we invested anyway. But I remember that. I remember the conversation with you, and I was like, what is going on here?
You know what was very inspiring about that time? I don't know if you remember, you were standing at a corner desk and replying to support tickets. I was like, this is awesome. This is the kind of founder that I can look up to. So that was an important decision for us too, based on how we wanted to run the company. So Thank you for investing, and thank you for believing in us, even when you didn't get what the product was.
What's crazy is I feel like you're now the founder who's sitting in the corner desk and responding to support tickets a bunch.
Yes. I don't think there's a better way to build a company and a product that actually works for customers.
Okay, so I think the investment was something like $500,000. I'm not entirely sure. Is that the right amount?
It's $550.
$550. Okay, gotcha. It was $550,000 back in 2018 or 2017, maybe even 2016, somewhere around that time period. 2017, does that sound right?
I think end of 2017, yeah.
Okay. And you were just telling me before we sat down that it's only me and one other guy who's invested $25,000 that are investors in the business.
Yeah. So we originally had more investors. We gave them all a return and we bought their investments back because we didn't want the venture direction to be what our business should be on. So we bought all the investment back. So it's just two of you guys on our cap table, in addition to us founders and employees.
That's so interesting because at one point I remember there were people who would reach out to me and be like, hey, I see you're an investor in Fulfil. I want to invest in this business. I can think of 3 VC funds right now off the top of my head where I know you were talking to them. and you just said no to everybody. And this was like when the market was peaking and you just said no to everybody. Because I know people were like, I'm ready to issue a term sheet. Why isn't Sharoon accepting this? And I was like, I have no idea why he's not accepting this. But you said no to everybody.
Yes, we said no to everyone. We don't think you can build an ERP system with a venture outcome mindset.
Okay. Well, let's get into that in a second, because now I'm wondering how my $550,000 is going to do. But it's actually doing great, so I'm not really worried about that. But before we get into that, one of the things that I remember that first meeting we had in Tiny Code's offices, I was like, I don't know what you guys are doing here. And I think there's still a lot of businesses, when Native was doing $100 million and people would say ERP, I had to Google what ERP meant. Tell us what ERP means, and then tell us what it actually means. What does it stand for? And then tell us what you actually do.
Yeah, so ERP is this really strange acronym. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, but it actually could mean anything.
Yeah.
Today, most vertical software that addresses a bunch of different aspects of the business and gives a source of truth for a company is usually what ends up being called an ERP. So you can have generic ERP systems, which can be applied to multiple industries and adopted by different types of businesses.
And what's an example of that?
NetSuite's a good example.
Okay, yeah.
NetSuite's a good example.
Okay, yeah.
Sin7, not as much. It's wouldn't be considered an ERP.
Okay.
Because an important part of an ERP is also the financial aspect being rolled into it. So without that, it usually ends up being a little bit more of a point solution than an ERP system.
Okay, and so in ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning. You guys focus specifically on e-commerce. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we only work with D2C brands, and usually they are companies that sell online through something like Shopify or Magento or something like that, through marketplaces like Amazon or eBay. They are usually doing some amount of wholesale, and a good chunk of our customers are 9-figure merchants, and by that time they have stores, they have selling through Nordstorms, the world, and so on.
Tell me why people use an ERP. Like, why is everyone using an ERP? And let me tell you, when we were doing $100 million in revenue, we were not using an ERP. We were using Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
In a way that probably wasn't very smart. But tell me, if I use an ERP, what happens? Okay, tell me, I've implemented Fulfil entirely. Why did I do that?
I want to go back to what you said about spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And for something like Native, I think that's perfect because you had a simple operation from the lens that you had one platform where all your customers were.
Yeah.
They were placing orders in one place.
Yes.
You had one fulfillment center, one person producing it for you and sending it out. So you intentionally structured the business to be simple.
Yes.
And when that's the case, you pick up an ERP system. The complexity in your business is the ERP, not the business itself. There's no value an ERP system adds for you.
So simplicity, if you have a simple business, one manufacturer, one fulfillment center, one
channel, maybe
one channel. And I think the other thing that really helped us was very little SKU count.
Yes.
So we didn't need to worry about a ton of different inventory. It was easy to do via Excel spreadsheets. So today, Native has a bunch of channels.
Yes.
It has a bunch of different products. Okay, so let's say they adopted an ERP. What would it do for them?
So today, managing all of those different SKUs, from deodorants to shampoos to conditioners to all of those different ones, you can't do that on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You need a system of truth that tracks all of these orders across the place, your inventory across multiple different locations, that wholesale order which has a completely different contribution margin and case quantities that you're shipping out compared to the D2C customer, compared to the subscription customer. So these are all very, very different types of transactions that happen in the company that all need one single source of truth. So your inventory team doesn't have to completely switch how they operate when they think about a wholesale order from when they think about a D2C order. So this source of truth is what an ERP system gives you.
When I was researching this, I was like, okay, what is it that people are excited about when they use Fulfil? And there was this guy, he's like, this is what happens on a Fulfil page. This is what I can see when I open up a Fulfil page. I can see on a SKU, for a SKU by SKU level, product availability. How many can I still sell? Product on hand. How many are there? But some of those items may have already been spoken for via Shopify or a Target wholesale order. So what is available to sell? What's on hand? What's incoming from my manufacturer? What's outgoing to somebody? How much is being manufactured? The sales history breakdown of that SKU by year. every sales order where this product was included, every customer that purchased this product, every shipment that was made with this product, every internal transfer of this product, every customer return, every supplier shipment ever made with this SKU, and every bill of materials that is used to build this product.
That's solid research, Moiz.
Yeah. And so really what I thought was super interesting was, let's say we were responsible for the ingredients that made up the deodorant. I could sort of say, okay, let me pull up native coconut and vanilla and go back in time and say, how much of each ingredient that is required for this product is available on hand so that I know how many I can make right now. And it can also say, hey, look, you're running low on this inventory. You should issue a PO to this supplier so you can order more coconut oil right now, because that's going to be your gating factor 3 months from now.
All of that. And for a D2C brand, what ends up mattering even more is deodorant, for example, is a good example of a product that's really low value. You want to build bundles and you want to build dynamic bundles. So if you really want to do that too, the same bill of materials that you talked about can be used to sell virtual bundles online. And when the order comes in, Fulfil, expand that into the individual line items, send it to your 3PLs, and the customer gets a bundle, but that bundle was never made.
Explain that again. I don't follow that.
So a good way to increase average order values is to sell bundles.
Yeah.
But when you sell bundles, you can have a combination of coconut, vanilla, different scents. And you can either pre-make them and put them on shelf, which means you have to predict what exactly the customer is going to buy, or you can allow your customers to put a bundle together, or your marketing team can just send out a campaign with all of those SKUs that you have plenty of stock of. And the customer is buying a bundle. The checkout is for a bundle, but the pick, pack, and ship happens at individual SKU level.
Yeah.
So that allows you to sell the same amount of SKUs without any additional overhead as individual items and as bundles.
And going back even further, one more step, I would say the impressive part is like that coconut oil that I need for native coconut and vanilla is also the same coconut oil I need for cucumber and mint. And so you're like, look, both of these are being decremented right now. This one ingredient is decremented for both. You didn't have to assign some coconut oil to product A and coconut oil to product B. You could say they both pool from this one source.
Exactly. So track the and that's a good example of an inventory item that you would not track in units. You're probably tracking that in pounds or liters or whatever. And yeah, you have the ability to use the same ingredient across the board and track inventory of all of these things at the same time.
Okay, so when do people start using you guys? It's really interesting that you mentioned that at such a large scale, it wouldn't be a good fit because the complexity of you're entirely right in that we structure the business to be as simple as humanly possible. In fact, one of the things that we would do is we would prepay all of our POs because a lot of times what people would say is you have to pay 50% upfront, 50% upon delivery, 25% on delivery, and 25% 90 days after delivery. And I was like, I can't do all of this accounting. And so I'm like, we're prepaying all POs the moment we issue them because this is too complicated. You're entirely right in that we structure our business to be as simple as possible. When do people start? Is it revenue where they're like, okay, look, I got to $10 million in revenue. I need to think about ERP. Is it SKUs? Is it sometimes when people are bringing in picking and packing in-house, so they need a system for that? Is it when they do their own manufacturing? Tell me when people generally adopt your software. What's the smallest business from a revenue perspective? What's the largest business from a revenue perspective?
10 million revenue is like a rule of thumb. But a better way to think about when you need a system like Fulfil is when you have sufficient complexity in the business. Now, one way you'll end up having complexity is you're operating your own warehouse. So you're receiving inventory, you're cycle counting, you're picking, packing, shipping, keeping track of it. So that's one way of having complexity. Another way of having complexity is having a lot of SKUs. We have customers that launch new products, drop new products every week. You easily end up with thousands of SKUs like an apparel business would if you drop products at that scale. Another way to end up with that complexity is you have different sales channels that are completely different. You can have 3PLs that are multiple 3PLs in multiple countries and multiple locations. You end up with the complexity. So what matters more than the revenue is really the complexity of the business. That's when you can add value. If not, I often think ERP systems are the complexity in those businesses.
Yeah. I wish there was a simpler answer where it's like, I guess you live in a world of complexity. I try and simplify my world where it's like $10 million in revenue. That's what it makes sense. But that's a really interesting answer that it's just a function of complexity, which is not measurable. But I guess businesses have a tendency towards chaos, especially as they continue to grow. What is the smallest business at Fulfil? Like, how much revenue is the smallest business on your platform?
We have customers that are in the 4 and 5 mil range, but they have the necessary complexity to justify it.
Yeah. And what's the largest?
We don't publicly share our customers' revenue numbers, but I think public information that's available. I heard a customer, Nectar, talk about their revenue numbers at Commerce Summit.
That's right.
And he mentioned it was close to $1 billion in GMV. There's this publicly shared information. I'll stick to that.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. They sold the business pretty recently as well. I remember when Eric was like talking to you probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. They have been a customer for a really long time. And we have seen that business scale up so much.
Yeah. What's really interesting is also, the way I think about the moat around your business is twofold. One is the complexity in creating the software that you have. I talked to some people who were thinking about using Fulfil 5 years ago, and they were just like, it isn't baked enough. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't have all the complexity required to run a business like this, in part because you decided to build every feature internally. Like, you guys have rebuilt, I think QuickBooks, a CRM, ShipStation, inventory management, all in-house, as opposed to saying, look, here's the software, but we integrate with all these things. Everything here lives inside Fulfil. You guys have rebuilt ShipStation inside Fulfil, basically, and probably a better version of ShipStation as well. Tell me why you did that.
From day one, we have always wanted to be an ERP and WMS, but it wasn't really possible to get that built overnight. Yeah. So we had to be patient about it. It took us years to build out each of these capabilities. Inventory, order management, these things came first. We didn't want to scale as an inventory or order management system. There are plenty of those systems out there. If that's all what you need, we wanted to build out the entire product. So if someone told you 5 years back that it wasn't there, they're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today it's a fully fleshed out system. And you mentioned ShipStation. ShipStation allows you to pick, pack, and ship orders out. That's just one of the many features of the WMS. So if you're operating your own warehouse, a full-blown WMS that works on a handheld and allows you to manage 40, 50,000 square feet warehouses is part of the product.
What percentage of your employees are engineers then? Because I imagine building out all of these software, building out a WMS, great. Building out a bill of materials to understand how all of these products work sounds more complicated. Having an EDI integration so I can get orders into Target sounds like another business. Like, that's so many pieces of software built into one. How many people are your team, and what percentage are engineers versus sales?
We have a 2-person sales team, and our entire company is 55 people. So the vast majority of our team is engineering and support. We are structured a little bit differently. Like, we don't have, for example, product managers. Our engineers are at most one hop away from customers, and our support, for example, performs a dual function of supporting our customers and building the product with our engineers. So we are structured a little bit differently than traditional software companies to make this possible. We have to build out a lot of features. We need breadth of product, and we need to be able to change pretty fast based on how our customers are changing. If TikTok blows up and becomes a big channel, we have to react and make that a native integration pretty quickly. So D2C is a space that changes fast, and we have to change fast. And for that, engineers have to be really, really close to the customer.
So if I get an order on TikTok Shop, do I need to be on Shopify, or it goes in directly through TikTok Shop?
No, we are a direct order management system. Yeah. So we bring in orders from all of your different channels. TikTok Shop is just one of the many different channels we integrate with.
Yeah, that's a new one. Okay. And then I know some of the clients, you talked about Nectar, which is $1 billion GMV possibly, and certainly $1 billion exit. I know a couple of the other customers are Missouri, Hexclad, Cora, Caraway. You and I were talking just before this. I had dinner with the CEO of Wild Deodorant last night. I'm virtually certain he's going to sign, and I'm virtually certain he's going to sign before this airs. So I'm going to throw Wild Deodorant on here, which I'm really excited about. I love that a deodorant business is on it. Why do people choose you guys? I guess the other 800-pound gorilla in the room is Netsuite.
Yeah.
Why are people going to you instead of Netsuite? Netsuite has been around forever. It's owned by Oracle. Why choose Fulfil instead of Netsuite?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the safe choice, right? Like, you don't get fired for buying Oracle, I suppose. So that's the biggest competitor that we have in this space. If you're a D2C brand and you I choosing Fulfil, it's probably because we integrate out of the box with all of the sales channels that you can think of.
Yeah.
Your 3PLs, hundreds
Give me the
of
most
3PLs.
obscure sales channel that you integrate with.
Have you heard of this platform called Connective?
No.
Okay. So these are landing pages that convert insanely well. You will have tens of thousands of orders and you'll have one line item on each of those orders, and they probably use Stripe or PayPal, and they could have paid with any of the 16 plus currencies that PayPal supports.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a very obscure channel used by a handful of brands, but works really well for them.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the NetSuite versus Fulfil. So you said, tell me why people do that.
So with Fulfil, what should be table stakes, integration with these channels, doing your D2C accounting, all of those happens in the first few weeks because these are things that are natively there. You don't have to negotiate a contract with another iPaaS to integrate with all of these different channels you have. Or tomorrow when you decide to launch a new channel, you're not starting with another contract negotiation. It's just like go integrations, plug and play, and start working on it. So if you're a D2C brand, we are just so tailor-made and designed for a D2C brand that it fits the business better than taking any generic ERP system, including NetSuite, and trying to tailor it to a D2C brand.
Well, let's talk a little bit about implementation. Native ended up using NetSuite. It was a P&G thing and took about a year to implement.
Yeah.
I sit on the board of another company that agreed to use NetSuite before I joined. It's been 4 years and they have not integrated NetSuite yet. 4 years. I kid you not, it's been 4 years. It's a discussion point at our board meeting. What is implementation time?
I think the fastest NetSuite rip out and implementation that we have done was 4 weeks. And that was because NetSuite was holding the customer hostage that you have 4 weeks to sign or we're going to turn the system off.
Wow.
That didn't sit well with the merchant.
Yeah.
And they signed with us, called up, signed up 2 days. 4 weeks, we were up and running. Now that's a little bit unusual, but usually it's about 4 to 8 weeks is what it takes us to go live with Fulfil, assuming you have 4 or 5 channels.
What's the longest it's been?
We have had really complex multi-country implementations with 60 sales channels and 25 EDI partners and all of that. That could take months.
Yeah.
And EDI is usually one of those things that takes more time than you think it should.
And what happens if I've got a sales channel that you have not integrated with? TikTok Shop is a bad example. Connective is a good example. But what if there's a crazy sales channel that you don't integrate with? Like what happens? Is it through an API? What do I do there?
So 100% of Fulfil is available over a REST API. But a channel integration is an even more common example. So we have a special channel integration API that our merchants use. Now, a lot of our customers have also built out their own custom sales channels, unique business requirements and so on.
Yeah.
So if they have a custom e-com platform, it's not uncommon for them to use this API to integrate with us. So weird ones. Yeah, there are some really old channels that people built a while ago.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. One of the things that I was thinking about or that I read about when people were thinking about using you 5 years ago is people were like, aside from the fact that it wasn't baked in, it was such an early business. You guys launched in, I think, 2016, 2017. When did you guys launch?
2015.
2015. Okay.
Product came a little bit earlier. The company came later.
Okay. It made me like people were like, look, what happens to software businesses like this? You're taking a huge risk switching to a new startup where all of your operations rest, right? Like your WMS rests here, your inventory rests here. What happens when this business goes out of business? I was also thinking that earlier today, and then you said you bought back all of your other shareholders' shares, and then you had a 55-person team, and I was like, okay, these guys aren't going anywhere. Like that's why I dropped that question from my list. I was like, these guys aren't going anywhere if they have a 55-person team, and it bought back shares, tender offered for shares of shareholders. One of the things that I really love about the business is everyone says you're super involved. We talked about how you're in the corner answering questions. Virtually everyone that I've introduced you to and that you're making, I introduce you and you get on the call with them. When they have a problem, they reach out to you often and you're like, okay, we're going to go fix this. There was this example of a guy they implemented Fulfil and they're like, look, one of the issues that we have with inventory is when we get a return, we don't know whether it should go back into inventory or get discarded because we don't know if the return is still sellable merchandise. And so they were like, we want you to build like a holding zone for customer returns. And they said, within the 2 weeks, you guys had built a holding zone for customer returns. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I know what the feature is, but I have no idea who the merchant is.
Yeah. So you guys built that out in 2 weeks. I guess What's going on that you guys are building out products that fast? Because, I think about Agora Pulse, and I've asked them to build out 50 features, and they've never built out a feature. I think about like ShipStation. ShipStation has this feature where they're like, you can request a feature and upvote it and downvote it, like on Reddit. In 9 years, I've never seen ShipStation build out a feature that I wanted. What is going on that you guys are doing that fast enough?
One thing that ends up happening to software companies is they all end up having a product roadmap. We don't have a product roadmap. We don't have product managers. We don't have product roadmap. Product roadmap is a number one excuse that product managers use to stop listening to their customers. So we don't have to deal with that at all. We have a direct line of communication. Our support team includes the product owners who are coordinating with engineering every single day. So they have the ability to prioritize. They have the ability to react fast. So if we see it's a big enough problem that affects multiple customers of ours, and this is something that we have heard a couple of times, we can build it because we don't have a product roadmap to worry about.
So, there's all these engineers. How is there no product roadmap? Because there must have been a product roadmap at some point because you're building out accounting features. You were building out, after WMS and order management, you were building out features. Is it that some engineers are just responding to customer service tickets all the time? Is it that some engineers are working on longer term projects? How does that work? Because not having a product roadmap, that sounds amazing, but it also sounds like, how is anyone going to build out anything long term?
So there is a product vision. We know that we should never be a payroll system.
Yeah.
We should integrate with as many payroll systems as there are that our customers use and support an API. So that part of the vision is clear.
Yeah.
But which payroll systems is really dependent on which customers come on board and what systems they use. So for engineering and for our product owners who are there in support and implementation, they know right away when they see that a customer is using something like Rippling that, we are never going to build out payroll, but Rippling is an integration that we could support. That decision making is clear on what we need to support and what we should not. But there is no roadmap that they have to reprioritize and remove something else to add something else in there. They have the ability to prioritize around that. So that's how we are able to build out longer term things without compromising on what our customers need today and tomorrow.
So if you get 5 emails today saying, hey, let's say you guys didn't integrate with TikTok Shop. If you get 3 emails today saying, hey, I want a TikTok Shop integration, who sees those emails and how does that get to your product? Because I do think amazingly, now understanding your business more, I would say 2 things. One is I wish I had tendered for those shares instead of you buying back those shares. I wish I had done it. But 2 is, it sounds like maybe a little bit of the magic of your business is the structure of your internal team, which is not something that I think I would have expected prior to this conversation. I didn't think that was a part of the magic. Do you think that's part of the magic first? And second is 3 emails say, hey, I want TikTok Shop integration. How does that work internally?
So 3 of those emails, they're likely to be either going straight to support or they're likely to go to our account managers. Now, they all see these signals and they're sharing them. And there are 3 times our remote team comes on a synchronous call between engineering and the product owners and support. And they're said, hey, I've been hearing about this TikTok thing and we have 3 of these customers now selling on TikTok and it's something that we should look at. That's immediately going to trigger, okay, I'm going to sign up for a developer account and figure out what that API looks like. And if it's
who says that? Who's going to sign up for a developer account? It's not you, I think.
It'll be our engineering team. Okay. I would definitely be involved. And these are all conversations that happen because these are both teams that report to me as the product owner.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so they report, first you're the product owner. That's interesting. Okay, but so now the engineering team is like, okay, this is an issue. On that call, who on the engineering team is it? Because, is it everyone on the engineering team? Is there one guy? How does it happen so fast? This person said in a couple weeks that you built out a holding zone for returns. How is this happening so fast? Because in ShipStation, literally, it's not 9 years later, and I'm still seeing the same issues.
What would have happened in that case is that would have not have been a single customer. There would have been at least 2 customers talking about some kind of workflow. Yep. Someone would have heard this and they would have said, I want first-hand information. Would have scheduled a call with the customers, 2 of them separately without each of them knowing that the other customer has this need. Would have figured out what's the right way to solve the problem. We would not have implemented what exactly the customer asked.
Yeah.
Instead, we would have built the elegant solution to the problem that addresses multiple needs, which fits our product vision.
Give me an example of this that is more obscure than TikTok Shop.
When COVID happened. So most of our merchants at the time had only online, but some of our customers had stores. The ones with stores could not open their stores and all what they wanted to do was curbside pickup. And we rolled out curbside pickup for them in a few days.
Wow.
It was available for our customers.
That's a good answer. That's a very good answer. I like that answer.
Yeah, I don't think we could have reacted to it as quickly if we had a roadmap to worry about. So,
yeah. Hey guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor for limited supply is Fulfil.io. Fulfil is incredible ERP software built specifically for e-commerce businesses. Think of them as Netsuite, but specifically for e-commerce. They are meant to be a single source of truth for when your business gets really complicated. So when you can't manage your e-commerce business because you have too many Excel spreadsheets, that's where Fulfil steps in. Now, your business might be too complicated for several reasons. You might be selling through too many channels where Excel doesn't work for you anymore. You might be like, hey, I'm on Etsy, Walmart Marketplace, Amazon, Shopify, TikTok shops, Facebook shops, and Excel just doesn't work for me anymore. Or you might be like, hey, I've got too many SKUs. I'm an apparel business and I've got several thousand SKUs or several hundred that are launching each year. Or you might just have a ton of different manufacturers because you order all of your own ingredients, from coconut oil if you're a deodorant business to aloe vera if you're a shampoo business. If your business has gotten too complicated for Excel spreadsheets where you're managing it, that's really where Fulfil.io steps in. It becomes a single source of truth for your brand. You can tell things like when you go to when you look at a single SKU on your Fulfil dashboard, you can see how much product is available, how much product is on hand, how much product is incoming, how much product is outgoing, how much product is being manufactured, and what is your sales history of that SKU for a single year, plus a ton of other things. It's really an incredible single source of truth. There's small brands from Cadence that are using them to massive brands like Nectar and Hexclad. You should go check them out. It's Fulfil.io. When you're ready for an ERP because your business has gotten too complicated, go to Fulfil.io. Okay, let's move on to the business. I think I finally, I think it's taken me 7 years to understand the business, but now I think I do understand it. It took me a really long time. People would be like, I want to talk to Fulfil. I'm like, I have no idea what those guys are doing. Probably in the last 3 years, or maybe 4 or 5 years, have I gotten an understanding of why people use this. Just because the business gets so complicated and why specialized software is super helpful. Do most people who use it have a single dedicated person for Fulfil, or is it the entire team using it a little bit?
It depends on the size of the company. A good chunk of their users would come on board and they would have 1 or 2 designated contacts that manage Fulfil for their companies.
Let's talk a little bit about the business itself, because no one has heard of this business. And I think I had the same feeling when I talked to Postscript, which I was an investor in as well. And I was like, more people have heard of Postscript, I think, just because they're more I don't know, they work for everybody and not just people who need an ERP. But I also was like, you guys have done a terrible job. I thought Postscript had done a terrible job of marketing. I think generally, I think the same thing for you guys as well. Because, sometimes we'd go, we'd have calls, you, me, and my brother. And I'm like, why are you not doing, you guys are growing, but no one's ever heard of this business. And I'm not sure why that's the case. I feel like that's changed a little bit. You guys may be a little bit more marketing oriented over the past 12 months.
Yeah.
Why were you so heads down for the first decade?
It takes a really, really long time to build out an ERP system.
Yeah.
If we had scaled earlier, at the time we launched, for example, there were some really good products in the space like Stitch, TradeGecko, and so on, which were point solutions. They did inventory or order management or both. And they all just scaled as just inventory or order management system, and companies would just outgrow them. We wanted to build an ERP system. It took us longer than we expected. So during that period, scaling made no sense because we would not be able to build out a system, and instead all our customers would start to expect us to be the inventory and order management system and not their ERP. We didn't want to scale as anything other than an ERP system. That's why it took us longer. We could have done a better job marketing sooner. Over the last 12 months, I think we have spent some money, and we are also figuring out how best to market the product. And what we like most is our customers talking about our product, which is how we have found all these customers who use Fulfil today.
What took longer to build out the product than you expected? Just the complexity of it or something else? What took so long?
A product is one part of it. I think we are really good at shipping product fast. With an ERP system, it's not just the tool, it's also the process. Now that's consulting, that's advice, that's professional services, that's support that understands the product. A good example is Say a customer is starting to sell on Walmart marketplace. They are shipping from Amazon FBA. If they send an FBA tracking number to Walmart, Walmart's going to just cancel that account. They don't want Amazon to be shipping that. So if a customer is asking us, a merchant asks us, hey, I'm planning to sell on Walmart, and if we see that they're selling they're shipping from FBA, our team should be able to advise them that, hey, make sure you're using blank boxes, and you make sure you're not sending them Amazon tracking numbers, and you force Amazon to ship with UPS or FedEx. If not, you're going to get into trouble. That level of domain knowledge and expertise in the business, it takes time to build.
Fuck, that is a good answer. I forgot what my question was, but that's so interesting. I had no idea. Walmart's going to cancel your account if they get an Amazon FBA.
Yeah, and at this point, I think they don't even accept an Amazon tracking number. They do not want an Amazon driver delivering a Walmart package.
So I got it. Your head's down because you want to build out a product. Now that you feel like the product is more fully baked, and that's why you're okay. And why do you have 2 sales guys? Why are there not 50 sales guys calling up every e-commerce business that has complexity or is doing more than $10 million a year, being like, you guys need to switch to Fulfil. We're going to save your lives.
It's because downstream, the hardest part of the business to scale is implementations. We do all of our implementations, and that's an insanely hard part of the business.
Because Netsuite, you often hire somebody to do an implementation between you and Netsuite.
Yeah, it's usually a third party that does the implementation for you. It's one of the biggest reasons for failure. I used to be in that business before Fulfil. As consultants, all of us co-founders implemented Netsuite and other systems for companies. And we have seen failure. Some of the times that we would be brought in is to recover from that failure and so on. So we've seen how third parties really just fuck up implementations. And that's the number one reason, even when the system is good, the team that's implementing is bad. So with Fulfil, we want all of our implementations to be done in-house.
And how many people are involved in implementation then? If you have 2 sales guys, how many implementation guys do you have? And why don't you just 10x both of those teams?
So 10xing sales is easy.
Yeah.
Very easy to ramp up, very easy to sell, predefined space, easy to find contacts and emails of people and spend marketing dollars. Scaling implementations, really, really hard. Even if they come from a supply chain background, even if we hire people who have previously implemented something like NetSuite or another WMS in the space, it's just really, really hard for them to be a domain expert in D2C, understand how a warehouse operates, understand how they interface with 3PLs, understand how an EDI works, how merchants sell on different platforms, the challenges with it, and so on. Those nuances, it's an apprenticeship. It takes months for them to ramp up. And today we have 3 pods for implementation, and each pod includes a consultant and an implementation specialist and an analyst. Scaling that is the hardest problem in the business.
That's the hardest problem in your business, scaling your implementation team?
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to do good implementations, it's hard.
Okay. That is crazy. I could never have imagined, one of my questions is, what are your biggest challenges? Scaling an implementation team. So if there's 3 pods, are there apprentices under each of those pods getting ready to make it into 6 pods, 9 pods?
Yeah, but it takes a really long time. For our implementations, people fly in, go to customer locations. Those are all functions of time. So accelerating that is harder. Like software is easy to scale, but going on site, spending time with customers, launching with them, spending weeks at each of those warehouse locations, all of that is just a pure function of time.
How many people are you implementing at any given time? So if we're talking about today, how many people are being implemented onto Fulfil today?
Each pod at most runs 1 to 2 implementations.
What, at most 1, 2? You can't run less than 1 or 2. Okay, so 1 or 2 for each pod. So you're onboarding maximum 6 people at any given month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get to be, the good part of it is we get to be picky and choosy about which customers we want to work with. The bad part about it is this is going to take a long time to scale.
Okay, gotcha. And so that's where you're like, look, I don't want investors who are looking for venture-backed returns because it's going to take a long time to scale because the implementation is the limiting factor, and I don't want to scale implementation until it's really good.
Yeah, it's a make or break thing. I think we survive with our reputation, and with ERP systems, if you Google this, you're going to find anywhere between 60 to 70% of ERP implementations across the board fail, for a variety of different reasons. But the most important reason why they fail is because they're being implemented by people who don't understand the space, who don't understand the business, who don't understand the product. So we have ultra low failure rates, and we take failure very seriously.
Okay, I want to talk about churn in a second. So is there another pod getting ready? Like, what's going on here? Like, I'll go and let's create a new pod. What's the issue? Is there one more pod being born or not yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often is a new pod going to be born?
It takes anywhere between 6 to 12 months.
Wow. Okay. So at the end of next year, you'll have 5 pods.
2 more pods coming out of the 3 pods we have today. So that'll be 5.
Has anyone publicly churned? Is there anyone that you can say this guy churned and this is why, or is no one publicly churned? And if not, don't tell me his name, but tell me why somebody churned. And then tell me what your churn rate is.
From a revenue churn, we are a negative business there. Logo churn does happen. Over the last year, I'd say 1 was a regrettable churn. Otherwise, the 2 other businesses, they really ran into trouble and
business issues.
But outside of that, we couldn't make 1 merchant successful last year.
And why did that person churn that was unsuccessful?
We couldn't get them fully onboarded on Fulfil. There was clearly training issues, mismatch issues, and making the customer successful across all their channels just didn't happen.
Let's talk a little bit about marketing. So you guys are obviously sponsoring our podcast right now. Are you guys good at marketing?
I think we suck at it.
Yeah. I think you're, this is another one of those businesses where I'm like, engineering, great. Management, great. Marketing, what the fuck is going on over here? Like, and the interesting part is I feel like I'm very good at marketing and very bad at all of those other things. So when I look at this business, I'm like, I'm like, how are you guys not good at the only thing I understand, or the thing that I understand really well? Why do you think you suck at marketing?
I don't
know.
Not
you personally, but as a business.
I think it's personal too. All of the founders, all of us are from a product background. So I think companies are always built in the image of the founders. And what we are good at ends up being the strength of the company and the team. And what we are not good at ends up being the big problems that we need to really hire for. So over the last year, we brought on about 1 marketing person who's like a 1-woman army of marketing right now for us. But it's definitely an area that we are ramping. But it's not a strength. And I'm very aware about it.
When people call you, is it that they know they need an ERP? Or is it that people are like, I need a solution for all this complexity. What is that solution?
Yeah, it's usually people talking about the problems that they have. And is this something that you can help with? Oh, we have had a failed implementation with Netsuite, or we have like the implementation that you were talking about. We've been trying to implement for the last 3 years. Can you help? That's usually when customers come to us. And almost always it's because they've seen Fulfil work for another merchant in their space or someone they're connected to.
Are people coming to you knowing they need an ERP, or are people like, if you worked with Netsuite and it was a failed integration, you need an ERP. If you are ripping out Netsuite or ripping out another ERP, you need an ERP. Or is it people who are like, I have this problem with complexity, with inventory, with my bill of materials, understanding what's on hand, and like, is it people who know they need an ERP, or people who are like, I have complexity, can you solve?
If they have a failed implementation, they already know that they need an ERP. Otherwise, they're coming to us with problems like, a good example of this is a merchant based out of Chicago. They operate their own warehouse. They had a horrible BFCM where they couldn't ship the product to the customers even in Jan. So, that was pretty bad. The fund that runs the company brought in a new CEO, and the CEO goes, I have 1 chance to make this right or I lose my job.
Yeah.
That's when, this is my problem. Yeah. Can you solve it?
Yeah.
And that's another set of customers. They're not coming for an ERP system. They're like, solve my problem for me.
I feel like I'm still not clear. Where are most customers coming from? Knowing that they need an ERP or not knowing that they need an ERP?
I think it's a good mix of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I go to your website, understanding that you could be a single source of truth for what I detailed before, how much product is available right now? How much product is on hand right now? I can see all my orders that have contained this product, my target PO for this product, sales history for this product, understanding how much is on its way, understanding any a leakage or breakage I might have as a result of theft or products getting damaged. You guys handle all of that. And when I go to your website, I see a white background and I'm just like, I don't understand what you guys do again. I'm like, wait, do I understand it or do I not understand it? Is there a product roadmap to improving the website? Like, tell me how people are going to learn more about you. I get word of mouth and it's amazing. I think a lot of times when If you're in New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles or Miami, you're like, great, I got this. My network in this community is so good. I know what I need. The simple modern guys sitting in Oklahoma City or wherever they are some of the best founders I've ever seen, because those guys figured everything out themselves and built a community despite living in a desert of e-commerce entrepreneurs. But the guy who is sitting in Iowa City and now getting to mid 8 figures, or the guy who's living in Manchester and getting to 8 figures, may not have the community that you and I are used to seeing when it comes to e-commerce. And they're going to be Googling around being like, I need a solution to inventory management. And they're not even going to understand that one piece of software does all of this, because they might not know anybody who's integrated with NetSuite. How do you reach that guy in a way that makes sense? Because when I go to the website right now, I would say, did someone lose the keys to this website? Did someone lose the admin username and password? There's not even an image on the back of the thing. There's a white background where there's supposed to be an image. There's no image. Did you guys forget that image? What happened?
We are fixing it. We are going to fix it. Fixing the website and making sure that it gives relevant information to people is important to us. Just yesterday, I was talking to our sales team where someone went through a demo and they said, hey, we had seen Fulfil years ago and we thought, from the name and from what we had heard, that it's fulfillment software. We didn't know you did accounting. We didn't know you did POs.
Of course, yeah.
We should be doing a better job of marketing, and especially the website, and giving this different information that different buyers, different types of users need. It's something that we're working on. We will get to it.
Yeah. I think that would be great if you're like, look, if you're direct to consumer with a lot of bill of materials complexity, this is what we do. If you're direct to consumer with your own 3PL, this is what we do. If you're direct to consumer with an omni-channel presence, this is how you'd use it. And almost like a little bit of a video to be like, let me show you a few screenshots to understand what how helpful this is. Because right now I see the names and I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, I respect Hexclad. I respect Missouri. I respect Nectar. They're legitimate businesses using your product, and it must be used for a specific reason. But I'm still a little flabbergasted. It must come from word of mouth, because when I land on your website, I'm like, I don't understand anything here.
I think we are lucky just because of the space. D2C is such a close ecosystem where everyone's really happy to share with everyone else. So they often end up discovering us. But if it was just going to be purely based on our website and acquiring new customers, I don't think we would do much. So you're right. It's something that for next set of growth and scale, we need to be doing a better job on this. We can't just rely on the
word of mouth. I think you can when you have 3 pods, but I think, when you have 15 pods, it gets harder. And I think the other thing I would say is D2C is a close-knit community, and that's an amazing part of it. But it's an amazing part of it when you get to scale and you're in a big, Native was at a large scale before I went to my first e-commerce. The first event I ever went to, do you know Ezra Firestone?
Yeah.
The first event I ever went to was a Smart Marketer event with him. We were probably doing $20 million a year, and I was like, I was mesmerized as to what was going on. And it was the weirdest event. I'd ask somebody, I was like, what's your business? And they're like, we don't talk about our business. And I was like, really? People don't talk about their businesses at these types of events? What's going on? We're all this cutthroat. I had no idea. And it's great for people who've been able to get into that community. But the people who are, growing a business and have not realized that community exists, or have gotten into they may be in that community in certain small ways where they're a part of, they listen to this podcast, they may be a member of e-commerce fuel, they may have come across you in some way, but in a large way, they're like, I have this complexity and I've been using ShipStation and it's been a terrible process, or I've been using Skubant, if they don't know what NetSuite is and it's really scary because they're like, fuck, this is going to cost a fortune. There's implementation. I can't get straight answers out of anybody. I don't know if this is going to really work for me. And I feel like those people are living in, I don't know if desert is the right word, but e-commerce places where they might not have, gotten word of mouth from you guys.
I think that's totally legit. Yesterday, I visited a merchant that's in Wales. Had heard of us by a total accident.
Yeah.
And they have all of the problems that we could solve. And the first thing that went through my mind was just we are doing a shit job of getting the message across to these prospects, that these companies that could use and benefit from our product. And we should be doing a far better job at this.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that, it's interesting that you said the pods are the biggest gating factor to success, because I was like, hire 10 more pods and you can scale up marketing. But if implementation is the make or break, it is really terrifying. Like, then you can't, then marketing isn't the issue. Because I imagine, right now, if I want to sign up for Fulfil, when will I get onboarded?
I think you will have a lead time before we can even get to the implementation.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So then maybe marketing isn't the gating issue, but I do think that it's a fantastic product, and I'm excited that you guys have come here. Like, I still remember that first meeting, and I was like, I don't know if you know what you're building. I certainly don't know what you're building. And now I'm like, oh, this is what you guys were building. Pretty amazing that you've done that.
Thanks. And you are an investor in Cadence.
I'm an investor in Cadence, yeah.
It's an excellent example of a business, even at a small size, would have benefited from something like Fulfil.
Yeah, I mean, they're using Fulfil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And native, even at 10x the size of Cadence, would not have needed an ERP system.
Yeah, that is really interesting, and really goes to if complexity could be a number, I feel like once you're over 40 on a scale of 100, or maybe even 30, that's when you need ERP, or you need to at least start thinking. If you're above 50, you probably desperately need it.
That's a good idea, a marketing idea, like a complexity formula to find out whether you need an ERP system.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I remember I am an investor in Cadence, and I remember Steph emailing, being like, we're just onboarding Fulfil right now, and I was like, I cannot believe two businesses that I've invested in that I did not connect are now doing business with each other. It was really an amazing moment. I was like, wow, this community is like this is happening without introductions. I was like, I'm like, I don't know who's made it. Is it Fulfil that's made it, or Cadence? Is it Cadence because they need an ERP? Is it Fulfil because they found this guy and they've made it? But I think in reality, it's both of you guys.
It's such an amazing business. And I've been to Cadence's facility, picking, packing, and shipping orders, and engraving some of the caps with the custom things that customers could upload. Such a unique business, complex process, instant value add.
Did they integrate their engraving into Fulfil?
Yes. That's a good use case for something that's made on order, because you could, as a customer, you could pick up common things like, hey, there's a shampoo and a conditioner, which is very, very common caps that you will need. Or you can put in your own custom text, which has to be printed, engraved, packed, and shipped with other items that you ordered.
Yeah.
So that adds complexity. And when you get that order right, the customer is super delighted. When you get it wrong, it destroys the customer experience, and that customer is not coming back to you.
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting. Yeah. Their products are made, I'm traveling. I have some with me in my backpack, or actually I probably have some with me in my backpack here with me. And it is amazing to be able to do custom things. You can write your medicine on there. I'm like, lisinopril.
Yeah.
High blood pressure medication in this one. So I really enjoy that. That's amazing. And the nice thing about being an angel investor is you forget about half of you. I think Salman and I generally forget about 90% of our investments because they're just not active. Nothing's happening. And sometimes my brother is like, I need some action. He's like, let's go to this business. And we never do this, but he's like, let's go to this business and either say, we want to sell all of our shares, we want to buy more shares, or we want to, we think you should sell the business. We need to let's get in the casino and start playing, we don't want to sit on the sidelines. We're we want some action. And I remember when you guys were doing your share buyback from your other investors, I felt like there was a little bit of action, and that was fun. I wish we had done this beforehand, because I think I would have had a very different reaction to. I would have been like, look, we should be buying some of these shares ourselves. How do you get to a point where you're comfortable running a software business? You're really I don't know what the right word is, an iconoclast, in that you're running software and you're saying, fuck venture-backed returns. We want to build this business the way we want to. What is hard about doing that?
A lot of things get a little bit harder. For example, when you try to hire, do you issue stock options? Because are you going to see the returns on those stock options if we don't sell?
Yeah.
As an angel investor for you, when are you going to see the returns for you? And if you're going to run this for a really, really long time and scale this.
Yeah.
So there are things that are different when you don't take the usual path to venture returns.
Yeah.
But I think this allows us to prioritize the customer over everything else and enjoy solving challenging problems for them.
Yeah, let me tell you a couple other things where I think you would struggle. One is fewer people are going to have heard of you. If I can Google Fulfil and see Fulfil raised $100 million from SoftBank or any of the other investors, I'd be like, okay, you know what's not going anywhere? Fulfil. They've raised $100 million. They're going to be around for a long time. So you have to fight the aura of not having an infinite balance sheet, which I think might make or like not having, longevity, which I think might make your job harder in selling the business, like selling the software to customers.
I don't think so.
How come?
We have an infinite runway. We are a cash flow positive, profitable business.
Yeah.
That 100 million, the company that has raised 100 mil, they have to raise the next round at an even larger multiple.
Yes.
Those are the guys you are at risk of shutting down. Like DTC, for example, is a graveyard of startups.
Yeah. That have raised money.
And sold to companies that have shut down the product. Like,
sure.
How many products do we have? Like all of the ones that I mentioned, Stitch, TradeGecko, good products.
Yeah.
But not a venture scale return. And had to be shut down. And that happens more often than we like. Like a good chunk of customers that come to us have been burned by software that would shut down or increase prices on them overnight. That's just a really bad landscape that we have with DTC software.
I think you're right about the answer. I think the perceived part is that people are like, oh, you've raised 100. I saw a TechCrunch article where you've raised $100 million. This is safe. I'm not going to get fired for working with this company that has raised that. So I think you're right about the actual answer. The perceived answer is you guys might not have longevity because you haven't raised $100 million.
That's fair.
I think that's one of them. I think the other one is, and this is a personal thing because I went through it a bunch when I was running Native, which is, your office isn't going to be as nice as a bunch of other offices. You're not going to, before, like people who've raised a lot of money are like, we need to hire 20 engineers today, and we need to hire 20, implementation engineers, and we need to hire 20 more customer service people because we have the balance sheet. We need to go spend that money, and our investors are saying that. And when you walk in, you're the hottest guy in the room, right? Like, because you have just raised a bunch of money and you have the hot. Like, I imagine Adam Newman at WeWork at some point was walking in every bar and hotel and, Saint-Tropez, and everyone's like, that's Adam Newman. Oh my God. Let's go over there and see if we can talk to him. No one in the world is like, let's go talk to Sharoon. He's running a software business that does ERP stuff that hasn't raised any money. Does that get to your ego or it doesn't get to your ego? Let me ask that as a personal question.
Actually, no one gives a shit about talking to me at something like this unless, they have an operations problem. It's also the thing that I'm comfortable talking about. So I think I really don't care. And you're right, from an office standpoint and so on, no one's going to find a ping pong table in a Fulfil office.
Yeah.
And people who join us also have to work extra hard. We can see, we work out of co-working spaces. We have 3 offices and all in co-working spaces. And we can clearly see venture-funded companies right next door to us. And the culture of work is very different from the number of hours our team puts in and how they work. It's very different. But I think I'm happy with, this is my life's work. Yeah. And I'd rather be doing this because I don't know what else to do. Like, if not for this and I'd be building another ERP company, I'd rather just continue building Fulfil the way it is. And I'm very happy with it.
Do you have employees who say, when are these stock options going to get a return?
No, I think everyone really has a clear picture that this is for the long run, and we make it very, very clear. Even people who ask for stock options during their salary negotiations and so on, like, we're very clear about this is how we are running the company and this is what we are expecting. And it often attracts people who are jaded by venture-backed companies. So,
but like, if you get stock options, aren't they going to say at one point, where is the return? Like, is there any employee who's been there for 7 years being like, I have these options, I purchased them, when do I get a return? And I'm asking this really, the code for this, is this a coded question for when will angel investors see returns?
You're going to hate this answer. The thing that I tell every employee that joins Fulfil is that assume that your stock options has a 0 value and has an infinitesimally small chance of becoming something. Join if you think the pay that we are giving you is good enough and you'll enjoy the work.
Yeah.
If you're thinking these stock options are going to do something magical for you, join another company.
Wow. Yeah. You didn't say that when you were raising money. Okay. Fantastic.
I said that to Sully.
This has been really fantastic. I feel like I learned a lot more about the business than I knew before we started this conversation. Is there anything else that I've missed? Like, let me be candid. I went over this. I created this sheet. I didn't share it with you. Is there anything that you want to go over that I have not gone over?
No, I think we covered a lot. I'm quite happy.
How often are you raising prices on clients?
Never. We have a customer that still pays $1,200 per month, and no one's seen that price in 7 years, and no one's going to get that price again.
Yeah.
But we will never raise prices on them.
So, okay, and like the idea is just, hey, look, we're going to be the good partners in this, and we're not going to screw you when we're like, even though we have the opportunity to, because you're so invested in our software.
Yeah, it's a relationship business, and our customers stay with us for years. Like this customer has been with us for 7 years, has allowed us to test all kind of random things with them and build out features with them together. They've been a great partner to us. The last thing that we want to do is screw them over with the price increase.
And so the price increases only happen when your business grows. Is that when there's negative, or like, if your business grows, that's when there's a price increase, but it's not, hey, your business is steady, we're just increasing prices at the end of the year like a postage stamp.
Yeah, usually customers end up buying more from us. They are probably launching EDI and they want to now onboard 10 more EDI partners. Yeah, we charge for that. They want to get an add-on and bring on board more 3PLs. We charge for that. Yeah. Users, they buy 20 more users. We charge for that. Outside of that, the base price, if you have signed for it, it stays the same.
So even if the business, let's say my business is 10 million and now it's 20 million, I haven't onboarded any EDI partners, I haven't added more seats, it's the same price?
One of our pricing models is GMV based. So if they chose a GMV based pricing, then they would see a price increase. Yeah. But if they chose a pricing model, I'm going to pay by users and modules, then if they haven't bought any more users or modules.
How many people are on GMV versus users modules?
I think it's a good mix of both. Businesses that are scaling really, really fast usually prefer the GMV model because they don't want to spend time renegotiating and it gives them visibility.
More people,
So these are companies that go from nothing to like hundreds of millions. Few years. That's the path they would choose. But we also have a good base of customers that are steady businesses, family-run businesses that have, very modest growth, but they want to run the company based on, they bring on board a new employee, they want to pay for a seat and use the product. Yeah. They don't want a GMV-based pricing. It does not make sense for them.
It's very easy for businesses in your position when you've been so bought in to increase prices. Like a great example of this is ShipStation, which, was bought by a private equity firm and immediately started increasing prices like there was no tomorrow on everybody. Like, anything you do, like now they're like, we charge based on API calls.
Yeah.
Which is bananas.
How are you going to measure that?
Yeah. I've got no idea. They were like, how many API calls do you want? I remember talking to them a while ago and I was like, what do you mean? How do I know how many API calls this business, like, what is an API call in your world? And it was crazy. And they're like, okay, you get 60,000 calls. And I was like, this isn't a business. Like, I like to understand, I want simplicity in some ways. And I certainly don't want to be thinking about how many API calls I'm making to your system every day.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very common example of what happens when you have a PE roll up or you have raised another round of capital and you have a board member that now wants to figure out how do I increase prices on all the customers and meet these revenue goals. 3 weeks back, I was here in UK talking to a merchant who was one of the early customers of this product called Brightpearl, which is now part of Sage. So this guy's pretty smart because he got after Sage acquisition, when he got his first invoice for the subscription renewal, it said your price is twice of what it was last year, but you're getting a discount of 50% and you're still paying the same thing. So don't worry about this. Realized right away that by the time the next year comes around, that discount is gone.
Yeah.
So we onboarded them and he was like, it was exactly as I expected. It played out the same way. By next year, they had a price increase and they said, you have 1 week to
decide.
Do this.
Wow. All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks so much for joining the podcast. So excited. I'm really glad that we did this. And I can't believe we got to do this in London. That was great.
Thanks, Moiz. And I guess we now have to have a second conversation about the shares and the return.
No. I'm like, I've already forgotten about, like, after this, I will forget about this I'll forget about the investment. When it happens. I guess I'm less, I like to see businesses grow. And I would say half of my investments, although I'm not sure if this one was that, are me wanting to watch entrepreneurs grow their businesses and me getting by putting down money, I'm like, I get a right to call you when I want to call you. It sounds like things are going well, like 55 employees, no other investors. That's an amazing, like the fact that you guys could go out and buy the shares from other shareholders is just a testament to how disciplined the business has become. And the fact that you're like focused on building a long-term business.
Thank you for being such a great partner to us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, great. Thanks so much. That's a wrap for this episode. I guess when people let's talk about you for a second. When people want to find Fulfil, it's fulfil.io.
Yes.
And how do people find you if they want to follow up with you in particular?
I'm Sharoon Thomas on Twitter. My email is st@fulfil.io. Just reach out to me for anything you need.
All right, fantastic. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.